Let's move on to our next topic.
Yeah.
What's up with this college football calendar?
So there's been a lot of clamoring going on and a lot of problems. And this is one of the biggest problems is next year. Did you know the championship game is being played on January 25th?
That's
That is a problem. That is way too late.
that is so late.
And so
Why?
even this year, I think it was played on the 19th.
Yeah,
And it felt like it was dragging. And I really care about college football, and I really was interested to see Indiana and Miami in the national championship. But if I had to wait any longer, I was just losing interest.
I was
The
losing
NFL
interest
was
quick.
getting into the interesting part of their playoffs, and I do watch the NFL playoffs. I think that is just a huge mistake.
Very much so.
We took it upon ourselves to, kind of make our own fixes. I borrowed a lot of my fixes. There's general online sentiment on how this would go.
Agreed.
I sort of reworked that kind of in my own image, but my general idea of how I would like it to work, mostly for the players, but also just for the general continuity of the calendar, just getting everything together and consistent. So, should I give you my proposed, or do you want to talk about?
Let's talk about the current right now and
what it
kind of
looks
show
like.
what the problems are
Yeah, go ahead.
and what we see.
Yeah.
So first off, we start off with week 0 on August 29th. All right.
Mhm.
Week 0, where not every single team plays, only a couple teams. And they kind of just kick off the college football season. All
I
right.
see.
So that's week 0. Then we get rivalry weekend. We're going to jump all the way. That got the normal regular season. We're not arguing that. That's perfectly fine.
Okay.
One bye week. All right.
Sure.
We're good. Rivalry week is November 28th. That's about 91 days
Okay.
from week 0 to rivalry. Okay.
Perfect.
Follow me there. Then we get to conference championship. That's 1 week right after that. 6 days.
Sure.
6 days later. All right. And then we got just the Army-Navy game that following week.
Yeah.
All right. And that's the only game that plays.
True.
All right.
And as a true patriot, I don't hate it. Could be reworked. I know what you're saying.
Yeah, we'll go with that. And then right off the Army-Navy game, we go to a quarterfinal or the first round games, okay, on December 18th and 19th. That's about 6 days. So Army-Navy's more around on that Saturday.
Yep.
Then it's usually the first round is held on that Friday, Saturday
Yes.
of that following week. And then we move to the quarterfinals, which is on December 30th, which is 12 days later.
Oh, okay.
All right. And then we also have another CFP quarterfinal. So we're at the top 4 teams right now.
Yep.
Which is 2 days later on January 1st.
Mm-hmm.
So you could have a 2-week break from playing your first round to your second round.
Really?
If you play on
Also-
December 19th to January 1st.
And so they're just skipping New Year's Eve?
Yes.
They
Are
New Year's
skipping
Eve
it
game.
this time.
Yeah.
Which is
Ridiculous.
interesting.
Absolutely ridiculous. I heard about that. They were going to do that. And I just don't understand why. And I'm really sad because what am I going to do on New Year's Eve?
Then you have the
don't know.
semis. So you're in the final 4 teams.
Yep.
And that's 13 days after the quarterfinal. You had
Wow.
another 2-week break.
Wow.
Honestly ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then you have the national championship on January 25th, which is 11 days away which was 11 days from the quarterfinals or from the semis, which is basically in fan terms another 2 weeks.
Yeah. So they're just pretty much putting 2 weeks between
Why are
all
we-
the playoff rounds.
Why?
I don't know.
NFL doesn't do that.
I actually don't understand how they come up with this at all. It's so ridiculous.
I think
so
it's crazy.
stupid.
And then to make that even worse, we got portal in there.
Oh yeah. I don't understand.
What are you
how
supposed to
this
do
is-
about that?
the amount of coaches that are leaving? By the way, half these teams are ending. What day is that? Rivalry week. A lot of them are
November
done
28th.
like November 28th. So they're essentially done 2 months. 2 months after
Months.
a ton of FBS teams are done. I mean, if you didn't get
Months.
6 wins, you're done.
You're done.
It's over. So
What the
that is just
heck?
ridiculous. I think someone said somewhere that the halfway point in the season is week 11. So you hit week 11, and that's the difference between
That is wild.
week 1, not even weeks, like week 1 to the national championship. It is
That is
the halfway point's like
wild.
week 10 or 11. Absolutely ridiculous.
That's crazy. We can't have that.
So
We can't have that.
I put together a proposal,
Okay.
kind of to fix this, and
Alrighty, Commissioner.
there are a couple options here. Yeah, I don't know if I'm the commissioner. I'm just a guy who's suggesting ideas. But I have the actual dates for 2026 and 2027.
Okay.
I think the first thing we have to do, it's kind of inevitable that we have this many playoff rounds, and I don't hate the playoff, but the playoff is 4 weeks, and if we want to wrap this thing up so we can get transfer portal and stuff done, we should start everyone on week 0.
Okay.
And here's the thing about week 0.
Sure.
There are already teams playing. There's no real detriment to starting everyone at week 0. So instead of just having some people start and then some people get 2 bye weeks and all this jargon that is it's just kind of stupid. Just start everyone at week 0, go for 13 weeks, everyone gets 1 bye, standardize it across the board. And this is August. I'm proposing a start on August 29th. That is
yep.
Not too late. I think that's week 0.
That is week 0. That is week 0.
Yep. So
You're
then
good.
13 weeks later is rivalry week, which is the
lined
week
up.
before Thanksgiving.
Do you
that
like
would
that?
be November 21st. I honestly don't hate rivalry week being not Thanksgiving. Some people say they really feel an affinity to having
Interesting.
rivalry week on Thanksgiving, but we need to move things up. It's inevitable to have
So you
things
think
wrapping up,
rivalry
but we
week
need to
is
wrap them
going
up.
just to be a collateral damage of fixing the schedule?
Yeah, you still have rivalry week.
No, I'm still fine with it.
I mean, I don't see where there's any damage so far.
Some people like Thanksgiving with rivalry week.
Yeah,
I know I enjoyed it.
Yeah, sometimes, but then you know what? You know what happens a lot of the time?
Mm.
Like I'm going to the game and I'm missing a ton of family parties anyway.
Oh, that's true.
Like I'll go to the game or other people go to the game or I watch the game at home while someone's having a family party on Saturday. Like at least here in Ohio, the game is such a big deal that no one would have a family party on the Saturday of Thanksgiving.
Nope, no one
Or at
does.
least most people don't. No one in my friend circles or family circles.
Not in mine.
Or else I just wouldn't be there. But I think that it would be nice.
Okay.
And then the week after
Sure.
Thanksgiving weekend, you could actually have it off. So the NFL's already kind of taken that over completely. What you could do is just put the Army-Navy game. So you move up the Army-Navy game.
That's what I would do.
And you have it right there. And then the week
America.
after, you have conference championships.
December 5th. All right.
So everyone essentially gets a bye after their 13 weeks of football. And so you should be ready to go week to week for the rest of the year. So you have conference championships. And
Okay.
I think this was an idea that I heard from Josh Pate, but a lot of people talked about, is having 6 elite evaluation bowls. What this basically means is you take 6 bowl games, doesn't matter which bowl games, and you have teams play each other that are not in conference championships. Because here's the problem. We always have teams who aren't in their conference championship, and they just have to sit home and like hope and pray that they make it.
Sure.
So what you would do is you would have these bowl games, and they're not playing games, but they're just data points for the college football committee. So
Okay.
everyone who's in their conference championship would, essentially make it, or probably make it, or at least get their data point. But then we could have had games like Utah against Oregon, Miami against Oklahoma, Texas A&M against BYU, Notre Dame versus Ole Miss, Texas versus USC, Vanderbilt versus Michigan. We could have had games like that as data points for teams who were outside of the bubble to help them decide, instead of just saying, well, you know what, we can't leave Alabama out, and you know what, we can't leave the ACC out, so we're going to put Miami in there, and we're going to leave Notre Dame out. Like, these teams could actually
Okay.
be playing. Like, BYU wasn't in a conference championship game, or maybe they were, I don't actually remember. But whatever Big 12 team wasn't
No.
in a conference championship game, who really thought they could have won, they could be playing in one of these bowl games. And that puts a bigger emphasis on bowl season, which is super fun as well. And so you use those data points, and since it's mostly just a model anyway, on Sunday you have Selection Sunday. And
Okay.
whether the playoff is 12 or 16 teams, it doesn't matter. You can have the first round the week after, hopefully on home field, if I could do it.
Yeah.
And then the quarterfinals the week after that, which is December 19th, also on home field. And then you could have the week after that. You just got to, spend Thanksgiving with your family. So we're going to go through Christmas. The Saturday, the 26th, you could have the semifinals.
Not Kwanzaa.
You could have it on Boxing Day, right?
And Kwanzaa.
Or both? Oh, okay.
Both on the
well,
same day.
You could have it on December 26th. It's the semifinals. And then 1 week after that, you can have the national championship. And that would be on January 2nd. That way you could open up National Signing Day like January 4th on that Monday. And then the week after that, you could have the transfer portal open. And then everyone can move in the transfer portal at the same time. And you could have the transfer portal wrapped up. You can have all your guys signed pretty much by the end of January. And then transfer portal will wrap up because there'll be kids stuck in the transfer portal by at the very least, the beginning of February, and then you know what your team is like without having, extended transfer portal for teams who are going farther in the playoffs.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then you can take pretty much all of February and March just to focus on spring ball finally and actually wrap up the season. The only other thing I would do to change the schedule, perhaps, is you could go all the way through and play games on Thanksgiving as well and move everything up a week if you really wanted to, or give yourself a break later. I just think it's still nice to have a time slot window of 4 hours for Army-Navy just to make sure it exists, even if you have other games on that day. Because, will the NFL even pull their games for Army-Navy to happen if they did it during Thanksgiving?
No.
Probably not. Maybe if, Donald Trump goes through with his executive order to say all media rights must stop for the Army-Navy game, which he threatened on Truth Social. Very strange. Interesting guy.
Interesting. All right.
So, yeah, basically start on week 0, move everything up a week.
Yeah.
Everyone is on the same time slot, and then you do the playoffs 4 weeks in a row. There's no reason to be having breaks here, especially when you give everyone a break the weekend of Army-Navy.
All right, I'm going to pick your brain then. I think you're going to find kickback on that evaluation games.
These evaluation bowl games? And
evaluation bowl games. How do you decide what goes where, right?
Yeah.
And then do you I understand we're using them as data points, right?
Mm-hmm.
But say Alabama doesn't make it, but then Alabama goes ahead and beats Oregon.
Yeah.
Right? Big win.
Of course.
But then those that made the championship, right?
Mm-hmm.
Should those at least be held in higher weight? The fact that they even made their championship compared to everybody else?
So
I'm concerned about where we go into the fact that, Alabama and Oregon Alabama was given the opportunity to play a harder team, supposedly, in Oregon, while Ohio State, Indiana were battling it out, right? Mm-hmm. Or Ohio State and whoever got the easy schedule for that year, Penn State or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And say Penn State, the lesser of the teams, beat Ohio State, right? And then Ohio State's on the bubble, but they made the championship game.
Yeah.
And Alabama didn't.
Yeah.
And if you're comparing apples to apples, sure, Alabama has the better win against Oregon.
Yes.
And how Ohio State lost. But Ohio State made the championship game.
Mm.
So I'm concerned about where we go with how do we evaluate that? How do we hold proper weight? And who gets to play who? I think that's important.
I would say that in an ideal world, this was put together mostly looking at a 16-team playoff, which I think is kind of inevitable. It's actually really interesting how the Big Ten actually wanted a 24-team playoff, which I'm not a huge fan of.
No, that seems like a lot.
I think that's way overboard. And the SEC wanted a 16-team playoff. But because of the way that the sport is structured, the Big Ten and SEC commissioners and peoples have all the power. But since they actually couldn't decide on whether to do 16 or 24, they argued so much that the end result was actually 12 for this year. So that's why they actually stayed at 12, or else they wanted 16 or 24, and it actually stayed at 12 because of how much they were arguing, if you didn't know that. So this was kind of made for 16, and
petty people.
What would happen if there were 16 is the SEC and the Big Ten, whoever made their conference championship would be guaranteed a spot. Automatically. Both teams who made it. I would say it gets a little hairier with the ACC and the Big 12. In an ideal world, I would hope the championship games are weighted a little stronger.
Okay.
But then again, we had Duke and Virginia, in the ACC championship.
I understand.
I know they're reworking their tiebreaker, but
they got there.
Yeah,
Miami had to beat
It was a
someone.
fluke. It was so stupid how Duke got there. They had 5 losses.
I understand.
Yeah, you don't understand. What do you mean you understand?
They won their conference games. They did their job.
No, they didn't do their job. Duke
It is
lost
not- it is
more
not-
games
it is
within their conference, but because it didn't count as a conference game.
That's an ACC problem, not a Duke problem.
Yeah, exactly. I'm saying they don't deserve anything.
I don't think you can do. Then you got to tell the ACC to get their shit together.
Yeah, which they are. They're getting their stuff together. Yeah.
I'm not going to penalize Duke for that.
Yeah,
as a team.
Well, you should penalize Duke for their 5 losses.
They got in their championship.
Not for making their championship.
I'm looking at Miami and saying, why didn't you do better?
No,
instead,
because Miami had 2 losses. Duke had 5 losses. Miami had 2 conference losses. Duke had 3 conference losses, except one of those games didn't count as an ACC game because the ACC is screwed up, and everything was screwed up so bad.
I
saying,
blame ACC.
all
I
right,
don't blame Duke.
Any competent committee member would hopefully see Miami and Duke, look at them against each other, and then put Miami in. And I see no problem with that.
If Duke won that, what would happen?
If Duke won it? Okay. First of all, they're going to fix all this.
Competent.
People know ACC is going to fix their tiebreakers.
But they're competent. They would surely put Miami in over Duke.
You can still have the
ACC
championship winners in automatically, sure.
I
think this is a moot point, and this is never happening again.
I understand. Wow, knock on wood for that.
And also, yeah, it can't happen again because they're going to rework it.
Sure.
It was such a disaster because everyone knew Duke was so much worse.
I agree.
They did win, by the way. Duke did win.
Duke did win.
They did win the game.
And they still didn't get in.
Yeah, because they didn't deserve it.
And
the actual playoff actually had it wrong because the playoff actually now is taking one of every Power 4 guaranteed.
And you think the Power 5s deserved in?
What? No, I don't think anyone's deserved in. Why even give automatic bids to anyone, honestly? This is a whole separate conversation. We're losing it here. Let's get back to what we were talking about.
Tournaments, man. Tournaments.
These evaluation bowls, you would just take the CFP rankings. You would take the top 12 teams who aren't in a championship game, and you put them all against each other. Now, however you decide that formula, I don't know, maybe you look at how far they would have to travel, or maybe you would just put you'd put the 13th team with the first best team, not in a championship, with the 12th best team who's not in a championship, like that. I don't know. They could work that out. I think all those teams at that point are so close that the only real problem would be where you're traveling to. Although, yeah, it's bowl games, so it's technically neutral.
It's already neutral.
So I think it would be interesting. I would love to see it as a fan.
I would struggle to be. I would be like, man, I am playing for my life in the national in the conference championship. If I'm like ranked 10th and I'm playing like the number 4 team in the nation and I lose, and then someone else from down low wins, and then all of a sudden they have a more powerful win for that weekend, even though I play the number 4 team in the nation.
But it could work the other way too.
Usually it just drops every time though.
You could play a team, and then you play fine. Let's say you lose the game by a touchdown. Let's say you are like BYU. Actually, BYU did play in the Big 12 championship. Let's say you're BYU. You're ranked, I think they were ranked 10th, and then they moved to 11th when they lost, so they could put Miami in. But you're BYU, and you play Texas Tech for the second time all year. And the only game you lost was Texas Tech, and then you play in the conference championship. You lose to Texas Tech. Now, in this playoff, they didn't make it.
I know.
They didn't make it with 12. What could happen in a future playoff is someone ahead of you loses. Because, right, this year, BYU went into their conference championship, and even though they were 10th, if they lost, they were out. They were going to drop them at least once in their conference championship, which is stupid. But that's what everyone knew was going to happen because they had to have Alabama in, and they had to have an ACC team in, so they put Miami in. But if you're BYU, instead of saying, okay, we lose, we're out, you could say, okay, we lose, but some of these, let's say, Texas SEC played horribly in bowl games, right? But they still had, in this year's playoff, they had Texas A&M, they had Ole Miss. If those teams played games against, let's say, Oregon or USC or Michigan or Utah, and they lost, then all of a sudden, maybe it's not Utah jumping up all the way in, but it's actually BYU jumping in because Texas A&M is moving down. You're catching what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
So instead of just being completely hopeless, you could say, oh, man, Texas looked really bad against Utah, and Utah didn't quite play good enough to get put in. Maybe Utah jumps 4 spots. But you, as BYU, you just jump 1 spot because Texas A&M falls that far.
I see what you're saying.
I think it kind of works both ways. And as a viewer, I just think it would be so much more interesting.
More football's always great.
Most of the time.
When's it not?
I don't want a 70-game regular season.
We're not the NBA.
Yeah, it gets to a point. But I think in this case, just having the top conference teams, especially with the super conferences, there are a ton of great teams just sitting that week, And it's helping them because, they get a rest. So that's my idea. I think anything is better than what they're currently doing.
Anything's better than what they have. So I don't know who's running this whole gambit, but it ain't good.
It's not good.
It ain't good.
All right.
Let's move on.